All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So we are in for a leg session today, a 9-week out leg session. 9 weeks out. Wow. Like, this prep has absolutely flown by. I mean, they all fly by, but I started this prep at 29 weeks out. To say that we're 20 weeks deep into prep and 9 weeks to go into the first show, it's crazy. It's nuts. But I'm very grateful to be in the position that I am in. Like, most importantly, to be able to just prep. Like, being able to prep is a privilege, and once you start to view it that way, everything kind of becomes easier, and you see everything with such a clear mind and a vision when you're just grateful for what we're being able to do by being a bodybuilder, and doing something that we genuinely just love on a day-to-day basis. So this session in particular was very solid, very, very good. I'd be lying if I said that I hadn't started to feel some prep symptoms now in terms of just day-to-day energy. And it's funny, it's not really anything in the morning. If anything, I feel from upon wake until about 1 or 2 p.m., I feel significantly better in terms of focus, in terms of drive, in terms of get up and go than I do at peak off season. Drastically better. But as the day goes on, I realize, my body fat levels are lower, we're not stage ready yet. We're close, but we're not there yet. And I feel that towards the back end of the day. And it's not really even hunger. It's got to the point where the hunger's not really a thing anymore. It's more so just general fatigue and energy is low, or fatigue is high and energy is low. And it means I just have to be strategic. I have to be strategic with my time. I have to, bulk all of my work in the morning, which I typically do anyway, but bulk all of my high, neural demand, my high brain focus work at the front of the day, where I can be really focused and deliver to my clients. My clients will know that my service never changes at any point. If I'm in prep, it's the same high quality service. And, towards the back end of the day, I just make some more time for doing, more the mundane tasks, the easy stuff, the admin stuff, the, little emails here and there, or, responding to an application or putting up an Instagram post, more of the easy to do stuff. So yeah, time management is the key variable at this point in the process. But yeah, the leg session was really solid. So a couple of small tweaks that I made to this particular rotation. So this was actually the rotation where I had previously I had the Atlantis hack, and then I'd go into the hammer strength leg press to follow. But the problem was the Atlantis hack, with the way that it loads, you can get like 7-8 plates on there, or if you're Keith, you can get 10 plates. And it was just getting to the point where it's like really starting to feel quite challenging on my upper back to be able to stabilize that load in space. And I knew that if I'd kept going with it, it would have ended up causing me problems through my traps or my neck or, my C-spine or something like that, just down to the compressional element. So I pulled that out and put in the Cybex on both days. So this Cybex will run prior to the hammer strength leg press, as you'll see. And then on the other day, the other rotation, I will run the Jim Lacko leg press and then follow that up with the Cybex hack. So yeah, I hit a new low, this morning, which was 159.9, and I hit 160.4 yesterday. So, body weight's coming down. I think I'm probably about the same condition as I was now in 2021, being realistic. I really did lose quite a lot of muscle in 2021. I was losing at a pace that was like 2 to 2.5 pounds a week for the final, 7 or 8 weeks until the first show. And then I reversed in and I was 152 pounds on stage, and, everything was in, bar maybe having like cross-striated glutes from the back, which I just didn't really have the muscle for, or I didn't have the muscle left because I'd wasted away by losing way too fast and sort of pushing the gas pedal down at the wrong end of prep. But that was, a mistake that I learned from. And now we're in a position where, 9 weeks out from the first show, 159 pounds. Realistically, I could compete in this condition and do relatively well, but I know I want to bring something that's, elite condition, and that's another, I think, 5 to 6, maybe 7 pounds away. So it doesn't really matter to me the weight. What matters is that I'm in the condition that I want to be in. But we're close. I can certainly feel like every day I'm getting closer now. It's not just a case of every few days. Every day I'll wake up with something new in terms of detail, which is super exciting. It's such a fun part of prep. So yeah, the other small change that I made in this leg session was the Atlantis seated leg curl. So the prime is amazing, and I still think it's goated in terms of seated leg curls. But the only problem with it is that having to lock in with the pad, unless you've got a training partner, unless Loz is there, I don't want to have to ask someone, because I just find it, a little bit like over the top, having to say, oh, can you come and, push me down into a seated leg curl, and then also can you wait around for me to finish my set so I can get out of it? It's just not worth it. So for me, I just went across the Atlantis. I can lock it down, I can use a seat belt, and I can just get more out of that rather than having to faff around with trying to get someone to pull me into the prime seated leg curl, because I'm at a point where I need it on the tightest setting, otherwise it feels really crappy because my legs are just not fully locked in. Whereas with the Atlantis, the way you can lock that mechanism in, it just makes it so easy. So yeah, it was the only real big change was just the hack and the leg curl. The leg press stays the same, and this is actually, funny enough, probably in recent years, some of the highest leg volume, I mean, in general, some of the highest volume I've been able to retain across a prep with good strength. And with really good strength, actually, with the strongest I've ever been at this body weight for sure. And it's definitely the most volume I've ever done. I'm training 4 days on, 1 day off at the moment with, a very substantial arm and delt session on that third day. So it goes like, push, back and hamstrings, which is, back with the RDL and no rear delts and no biceps on that day. And then I do an arm and delt session, which is basically mostly arms, a lot of volume for the arms, and some rear delts, which I'm recovering from really well. It's not affecting my pressing at the moment, which is really good. And it's keeping my arms and my delts look much rounder than in other preps. They're definitely a body part which is hanging around a lot better with this approach. I think in the past, honestly, I don't think the quality of work was good enough, and I don't think the frequency was high enough for my arms and delts. I think, me personally, I need to be hitting them with high frequency. And quite a substantial amount of volume as well, more than you'd expect. So that's that day, and then obviously roll around to legs and then take a rest day. So by the time the rest day comes, don't get me wrong, like I'm definitely needing it, but recovery as a whole is fantastic. Sleep is really, really good. I'm very impressed with how well my sleep is standing up at this kind of body composition, at least. But I'm being smart with things. I'm not like slamming caffeine. I'm cutting off my caffeine at 2 p.m. I'm doing all of the things that I did in my video, funnily enough. If you watch the sleep video, you'll see. So yeah, I really wanted to just come on here, one, to act as a bit of a voiceover over this leg day footage and make it a little bit more engaging, rather than just watching raw clips. And two, just to, say hi and kind of chat for a little bit, because I hadn't really done this prep really at all. I haven't really just sat down and chatted and talked about my process that much. So I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this approach to the way that I ran this episode. And if you like content like this, obviously please let me know. Just comment below that you'd like to see a little bit more like this, and I can definitely make it happen. It's very straightforward to film, because I get like you like seeing the food and full days of eating and stuff, but the reality is that that's not going to change very much now. It's going to be pretty consistent all the way up until show number 1. So yeah, show number 1, 9 weeks. So in 8 weeks time, I'll roll into the peak. It's likely I'm going to be ready, I think probably about 10 days out, maybe 12. Anywhere between 10 and 14 days out would be nice. And I'm just going to roll into a linear load. I know that for me is going to probably work the best. I really am not a huge fan of the whole, fat load deplete into carb load. I just think that I don't even think you're gaining percentages. I've seen it happen a few times where people lose a lot of percentages. I think that the best way to peak when you are ready is to reduce fatigue and build muscle fullness. And I just really don't think that depletes serve a purpose when you're already ready. I think they offer a very big open door to drive fatigue levels up and actually make you less responsive to the load. And that's when I see people loading with 800, 900, 1,000 grams of carbs and staying the same weight or dropping weight. And it's because they created so much fatigue from the depletion. For me, it will be a case of just removing fatigue and gradually building up muscle fullness to find the look. It's worked super well in 21, even off the back of not so great of a prep overall. So I think that will work even better this time round with being in a lower fatigue environment, having more refeed data, stuff like that. So I think that will probably be my undeniable approach for most of the shows, at least. I think with some ethnicities, I've had success with some of my clients working with some form of fat load into a carb load. But again, it's typically those that just retain water differently and retain glycogen differently to others, and that's something that as a coach you start to learn how different people respond and how different looks will end up peaking. And I think majority of guys that are quite naturally dry and hard and granity, they don't really need excessive approaches to get the polished look on stage that you're looking for. In fact, by chasing a certain approach, in fact, normally you actually end up taking away from the look, in my opinion. So, but again, I've been an open book to the book of peaking over the last 2 to 3 years, especially, but over the last decade, I've done everything: rapid backloads, fat loads, depletes. I've done them all myself, and I've done them with clients. So I'm just confident in that linear loading approach. But I'll let you know if anything changes. I'm going to probably cap this off here, guys. It's 11 minutes. The footage is like 10 minutes. Just edited it up. So I'll cap this off here. Like I said, let me know if you enjoy this kind of content, and I'll keep more of it coming. Definitely, like I've said, starting to feel the prep a little bit more now. But I should be, single digits. It should start to pinch a tiny bit more. And if it didn't, I'd be almost a bit concerned that I wouldn't be ready, It should be challenging. Bodybuilding is hard. It's meant to be a difficult endeavor. It's why not everyone can do it. So I like the fact that in these moments, I tell myself that I can do it and I will do it, because and it's a blessing to be able to do it. So if you're in prep, I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're making the most of it, because before you know it, prep will be finished. You'll be back into the off season. So embrace it, enjoy it, have fun. If you've watched this whilst you're doing steps, cardio, whatever, hope you've smashed it. Hope you have an amazing day if you're watching this in the morning. And we will speak soon, guys. Chat in a bit.